So I have no idea how much space I have to film this one, but again, let's give it a go, shall we? So again, back to what I was saying, to mental health to an extent, because I'm telling you right now, I can tell you I have no idea exactly what I have, but I can tell you that a little life story of myself would be back in the 2018-2019 school year, the first semester when I was in life work. I can assure you, I took a test to try to get whatever diagnosis that I had. And I told myself this was only going to help me if I did what I had to do to answer everything as God first, truthful, and honest as I can. Because if I can be that beacon of hope for so many kids out there to get the help they need today in whatever grade level they are, so hopefully they won't have to deal with the, struggling pains through middle school, through high school, whatever grade level, and definitely even adult life. I want to be that beacon of hope for so many kids out there because I'm telling you this, absolutely, kids, I understand to an extent you need good role models, you need good mentors, and one of the top things I really want to do is be that for you. If you ask me, I kind of already am that for you. If you kind of ask me or see my work over the last few years, you can definitely say, yes, I am that, I was that, and I will continuously be that through Christ, which strengthens me. And if anybody were to quickly ask, Nate, you do so much preaching, why in God's name are you not working officially at a church? Well, because do your research. I love church, but do your research. Almost every single, if not week, but definitely a couple times a month, if not more, you're hearing about a new report about some pastor or some child care worker, some priest, etc., etc. People who just absolutely molested and abused children, and so on. I am absolutely disturbed, disgusted, and horrified by that. And when it comes to that subject, I can rest assure you it's not that I never will work in a church, but I can tell you I have this ideology that kind of says that, oh, you go to church every day or you do this, you do that when it comes to a lot of church work. You should have a cemented legacy. If not a cemented legacy, a cemented reputation of, if not being perfect, because again, we're mostly, none of us are perfect, you know, nobody's perfect. Got that from J. Cole's song way back in the day. But you get the point. To an extent, I take it as you have built a reputation. If it's not a perfect one, it's definitely one of, he's definitely, no, he's a good citizen. He's this, he's that. Of good health, good wealth, good morality, and etc. The problem is that, that's what I'm thinking in the back of my head. That's what the perception, public perception that I still like and I still want to have, over people who work with the church and work in the church and sponsor churches or whatever you want to call it. But the problem is, every time I see forgive me for saying this, any young kids watching, every time I see a damning report about a pastor, a priest, a youth worker, a bishop, anybody within a church, doing those very, heinous is the right word for it, heinous, cruel, garbage acts towards children, it continuously lets me know that just because you work in church, Nate, sorry, my phone had the 20% thing down there, but as I was saying, it lets me know that, Nate, just because you're working in church doesn't mean you're perfect, doesn't mean you're sinless, doesn't mean that, you're not engaging in cruel acts behind the curtain. Trust me, my God, I'm sorry to everybody that has ever gotten abused in whatever type of way through the church, because the church is supposed to be a freeing outlet of God's love, God's passion, and God's humility for, you could say, the further benefit of all people, for community, for people as a whole, and more. You get the point. And to know that so many people have perverted his teachings, perverted his house, and perverted his practices, and perverted the house of God, I can rest assure you, absolutely disturbs me, and so on. And that's one of the top reasons why right now I can tell you, I'm into being the ambassador for a lot of churches, because I definitely do want to help spread that hope, healing, and awareness. So I'm definitely open to doing that part, but towards working like in an everyday church or working every Sunday in a church, like official paid position, something like that, you can pay me. You don't really have to pay me from the church board thing, but you can definitely pay me through, like I said before, donating my PayPal and buying stuff off NJ2TheCity's shop. But as I was saying, it's pretty much just the fact, at least for me, being like dare I say, being in a position like being in the pastoral position, or I don't really know, but you get the point I'm trying to make there, to an extent. Being in those type of positions, I just don't have a full care for it unless, dare I say, I'm in my own church that I built from the ground up. Other than that, I just want to just be the ambassador for a lot of churches, because I definitely can tell you we need to bridge that gap of church and community. If we can bridge that gap between church and community, dare I say, a lot of places, a lot of people would be a lot healthier, a lot cleaner, a lot more, I want to say satisfied with life, or whatever the third word or sentence is within that phrase, or within that context of dialogue that I was putting forth. The other thing that just hit my mind was, Nate, you do realize that some of these same people, again, same people who are working within the church and everything you just named, except for probably the ambassador part, which is, well, depends on what you consider the ambassador part to be, I guess. But part of me just dawned on my head. It was like, Nate, you do realize that some of the same people you just talked about, if they're not molesting children, they're probably doing undercover drug deals and a few other things. So once again, a lot of these churches are absolutely run by criminals and pedophiles and murderers and you name it. I mean, very much so. They live one life when they're in church, and then outside of it, they live another. So I mean, the biggest point there is, ladies and gentlemen, you almost never know whichever route you go down. You kind of never know how certain people are going to do, certain people are going to act, certain people are going to talk. I mean, the double life part is the part that really I struggle with, because it's like, dare I say it, I thought we had learned from this. I thought that the overall body of the church had learned from this by now, but then you see this report, that report, left and right, almost every day, almost every week, almost every month, whatever. You're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, how is the church ever going to heal, ever going to recover from this garbage? And then the other problem is, you have a lot of preachers in churches preaching blasphemy, preaching and promoting blasphemy. And that's another thing that ticks me off about watching some of these preachers on YouTube and so on. That they're preaching blasphemy, absolute blasphemy. And again, for me, that just, once again, that's why I can tell you, as much as I really, really believe that we should continuously bridge that gap between church and community if we want to get our communities whole and better. The stories exist. And not only do stories exist, but the stories kind of haunt us all. And not only do they kind of haunt us all, but I'm just saying, it's just amazing how, because I feel like if you lost faith in the church, I think you lost faith in, I mean, I'm not gonna say you lost faith in God, because you didn't, but I feel like, if you lost faith in it, if you can't turn to the church, I feel like, the most humility, or I don't know what the word is that I can say it is, that I feel like if you lost faith in the church, I feel like you almost have no other hope, to an extent. I mean, to an extent. I mean, I probably can't explain to you the extent that I mean, but I feel like if you can't go to the church, if you can't go to the church, I feel like, to an extent, sorry for just rambling for the last 30 seconds. I feel like if you can't go to church, and you can't go to therapists, you can't go to counselors, psychologists, counsel, whatever, if you can't go to all that stuff, what else vices do you have? And trust me, I'm all into people doing their own individual Bible studies in small groups at their houses, and praise and worship at their houses, church at their house. I'm absolutely 100% cool with that. But again, where is your heart truly at? Where is your soul truly at? Because whether you're doing church in an actual church building, or you're doing it in the comfort of your own home, whether you're doing church service, having church service in an actual church building, or you're doing it in the comfort of your own home, where's your heart at? Where's your humility at? Where's your dignity and morals and your values and your truth and everything else? Because you can still fall prey and victim to the same plagues and ills that are, or the same social ills that are plaguing the whole body of the church right now. I hope half of that, if not most of everything I've said within 9 minutes, makes sense to you all. I'm trying to explain it, but then I'm also trying to figure out, am I saying it in the most valuable context, or in the most right context? Because I don't really know. But I'm telling you, I'm totally open to being the ambassador for so many churches because we have to bridge these gaps between church and community. We have to, and that doesn't mean you're gonna always see me in every community, doing this, doing that. But it does to say that you're definitely gonna see me around from time to time. God first, doing what I can to help people, because if anything, I've built a legacy already off of being selfless and being a hype man and being a role model, being a motivator and a motivational speaker and more. One of my top names at Nice, or one of my top reputations at Nice, was being Nice's motivational speaker. And ladies and gentlemen, it's not hard to be one. Just if you were to ask me, know God, know Jesus, and trust me, I think it should come natural to you. At least the speech will come natural to you for the most part. Even if it is, again, piece by piece by piece, parts of it will come natural, if not all of it immediately. You just gotta be patient with the process and ease into it a little bit. And trust me, anybody can be a motivational speaker. But like I said before, mental health is something. I'm telling you, we have to draw, a bigger picture forward. We have to, because, for example, when it comes to, the argument of gun control, God bless gun control, to the extent of we do want guns out of hands of people who are going to do us negatively harmful. But I can also rest assure you that a lot of these people that I'm pretty sure are committing these heinous acts all around the world, particularly all around our country right now. I'm telling you this, I have a good feeling, or bad feeling, whichever one fits the context better, that a lot of these people, they owned what they owned before our current president got into office. So you can obviously see that I'm stepping around certain words here, honestly. If you are YouTube if you are a YouTube content creator, you know why I'm stepping around certain words or replacing them with other certain words. You already know why. I mean, my channel's not really big enough for it, but you get the point why I'm stepping around certain words. If you're a YouTube content, what word am I saying? I feel like I meant to say one word, but I keep on butchering it. The point there is, yes, if you're a YouTube content creator, you know why I'm kind of dancing around certain words and replacing it with other words that kind of mean the exact same thing. Just to let anybody and everybody know, like, hey, why are you, yeah. Because if you're a YouTube content creator, you know why, to an extent. But as I was saying, a majority of these people committing these very heinous acts all around the world and all around our country right now, I'm telling you, they own what they owned from these licensed dealers. They owned it way before our current president. They did. I have a feeling they owned it way before, and right now people are doing everything they can to keep on exploiting these tragedies to continue to make it tighter and harder to make truly good and real law-abiding citizens, make it harder for them to, dare I say, even buy the simplest, of weaponry, or whatever the word there is, and so on. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, you gotta wake up and realize, don't you think a lot of these people who are doing these heinous acts, don't you think they got their weapons way before our current president? Or you just want to blame our current president for everything because you hate him so much? Think about it. And before you think, oh, no. If you were to ask me, like I said, God bless our current president. But again, to an extent, lack of political skill back in 2016, or lack of political viewpoints, or whatever you want to call it. Political awareness, I guess, is a better way, another word, saying because of a lack of political awareness, I actually wanted Jill Stein to win, actually, but I can tell you that to an extent, I believe it's absolutely God's plan for who won to have won. And you're probably like, how is it God's plan? Didn't 80% of evangelicals vote for him? Exactly. And because if you look at what's happening with most of our media in today's day and age, you trust me, ask the spirituals, they will tell you it was definitely God's plan for him to particularly have won. Again, a lot of y'all, God bless your souls, a lot of y'all wanted the other one to win just so you can have, someone of the other gender in office. And trust me, I want someone of the other gender in office too. But trust me, it has to be the right one. You can't just force it. If you force it, again, can you ever go back to an extent? And forgive me if I'm already offending people with the last 5 minutes of this video, but I'm telling you, kind of do your facts, do your research, or do your research to develop. Do your research on facts versus fiction, and please try to ask God, what is He trying to show you within the deeper, bigger picture of everything? Not just what I'm saying, but everything you can see, always other alternative media platforms saying. You know, more coming soon. NJ to the City.